I'm Axel Cushing, Editor-in-Chief at GameLuster, and this is The Score, a weekly digest of news and commentary from GameLuster and around the industry for the week ending August 19th, 2023. Media conglomerate GO Media has apparently fired Kotaku Editor-in-Chief Patricia Hernandez over an unspecified personnel issue. Hernandez started at Kotaku as a freelancer, working up to deputy editor, then went over to Polygon as their culture editor before returning to Kotaku in 2021 as EIC. GO has not released any statement of any sort, even to acknowledge Hernandez is no longer employed there. I am a little conflicted. On the one hand, I hate to see websites in distress losing leadership for murky and unknown reasons. On the other hand, it's Kotaku, a site which has become the textbook example of what happens when good sites fall apart and become a mockery of their former glory. We'll see where Hernandez washes up and how it goes from there. Major schedule shuffles for October of this year have been happening of late across the games industry. It started with Ubisoft announcing that their upcoming Assassin's Creed Mirage would be launching a week earlier than their originally announced release date, with the new date set for October 5th. While no obvious reason was given, the suspicion is to give gamers more opportunity to pick up and complete the game, given the number of high-profile titles coming out that month. But while Ubisoft hasn't explained why they moved their game around, Remedy feels no such desire to be opaque. Their upcoming Alan Wake 2 was pushed back to October 27th. A statement by Remedy explained, quote, "October is an amazing month for game launches, and we hope this date shift gives more space for everyone to enjoy their favorite games." I'm sure putting Alan Wake 2 closer to Halloween won't hurt either. Still, Remedy isn't wrong. There's going to be a lot of games for players to pick from come October. A few weeks ago, we covered a story regarding a lawsuit between Activision Blizzard and Anthony Fantano. Fantano was seeking damages from Activision for using an audio clip to help promote Crash Bandicoot. Activision turned around and demanded a declaratory judgment, calling Fantano's demands for damages, quote, "a textbook example of how intellectual property law can be misused by individuals to leverage unfair cash payments from users of social media networks." Axios is reporting that Activision has dropped the lawsuit entirely. In a filing on August 10th, Activision dismissed, quote, "this entire action, including without limitation all claims alleged therein, with prejudice." The wording is significant and interesting, as much for what's said as what isn't said. Voluntarily dismissing your own claim with prejudice means that Activision cannot file a similar complaint against Fantano, at least as far as the whole Crash Bandicoot element. That said, there doesn't seem to be any mention about a settlement being reached. No statement of mutually agreeable and beneficial positions being negotiated. In theory, this could put the ball in Fantano's court, requiring him to spend the effort and money to sue Activision. If Activision is basically saying, "we overreacted, but we're still not paying you anything," it could be that the whole situation is going to fizzle out. We'll have to keep an eye on the court dockets and see where this goes. Also following up on an earlier episode, listeners may recall our special edition of The Score dissecting Bungie's disastrous State of the Game announcement for Destiny 2. Well, the furor and high dudgeon seems to have gotten through to personages inside Bungie. Game director Joe Blackburn put up a roughly 16-minute video on Twitter and delivered a mea culpa regarding the State of the Game post, attempting to apologize and perhaps make some amends to the deeply outraged player base. On the positive side of things, Blackburn indicated that he would start regularly streaming Destiny 2 and taking questions, which is definitely a far cry from the radio silence fans have been getting of late. He also indicated that the company's official Twitter accounts would be back up and providing information. As a goodwill gesture, Blackburn also announced that a set of armor which was originally intended for the Eververse store would instead be used as the ritual armor set for the upcoming Season 22. On the negative, however, Blackburn seemed to pass the buck about the authorship of that State of the Game post. He stated that the post didn't accurately describe what was happening with the development process with Destiny 2, but didn't explicitly take responsibility for the post, nor did he indicate who it was that wrote it up prior to its release on Bungie's website. Blackburn's video has not miraculously reversed the deep unhappiness in the Destiny 2 community. Future videos and streams might mitigate some of the damage that's been done, but there's still a great deal to be done to win back the trust of the players. I genuinely wish Blackburn the best of luck in that effort. Rockstar Games recently announced that they have acquired a modding team which they had previously accused of facilitating software piracy. The CFX.RE team, who run the 5M and RedM multiplayer role-playing servers, are now officially part of Rockstar, though details about what their role within the company are not presently available. The team stated on their forums, quote, While our day-to-day operations won't have any noticeable changes, with Rockstar's support, we are going to continue to improve our platform, and we are truly excited for what this means for our users, community, and creators. The situation is arguably unusual given that Rockstar condemned CFX.RE back in 2015 and proclaimed their 5M server as, quote, an unauthorized alternate multiplayer server that contains code to facilitate piracy. However, a change in policy regarding role-playing servers from November of last year allows servers like 5M and RedM to operate so long as they aren't cutting into Rockstar's official servers. One hopes that this might mark a return to a more cordial and even collaborative spirit between game studios and their players, a situation which hasn't been seen much in evidence for the last 20 years or so. Finally this week, Microsoft has announced a new strike system for Xbox, stating that users with abusive gamer tags or who display abusive behavior in games will basically have 8 chances to demonstrate their lack of fitness to be minimally decent human beings before being banned for a year. Xbox VP of Player Services Dave McCarthy, in an interview with The Verge, stated that the new system is, quote, all about player transparency, a reference to the seeming inconsistency with bans on Xbox where player A might be banned for a day for graphic hate speech, while player B might be banned for a month for an excited bit of profanity. Microsoft's desires are laudable. Their efforts, however, are likely doomed to fail. The key element that Microsoft has failed to reckon with is that they are dealing with trolls. McCarthy himself pointed out that only 1/3 of 1% of the entire Xbox player base gets, quote, additional enforcement actions. So in relative terms, most folks are behaving fairly decently. But in absolute terms, that's a hell of a lot of people who can make your particular game miserable. It could be as simple as griefing, which has a lot of different expressions depending on the game, or it could be as complex as trying to bait somebody into an offense which gets both the troll and the target banned. As long as the troll accomplishes the goal of making people upset and or getting somebody else in trouble, they've won. Because they're not playing Destiny 2, they're not playing Call of Duty, they're not playing Fortnite. They're playing Let's Make a Gamer Cry, and video games are simply a means to an end. At the turn of the millennium, there was an innocence, almost naivete about the potential of the internet. We believed that it would all bring us together, that we'd meet people from other parts of the world and share in experiences that might help bridge the gaps of distance and culture which had before now separated us. Game consoles were fairly quick to build in an internet connectivity, hoping to create communities of captive audiences. But things devolved, as they often do. People learned that there were ways to cause problems, usually by honest mistake at first, though there's always been a certain segment of the population that is intrinsically bent towards mischief. And the classic problem of the schoolyard bully was reborn as the internet troll. The hitch, of course, being that you can't physically punch a troll most of the time. It is a problem which tech companies and netizens have failed to reckon with for a while. Would we have ever coined the phrase swatting if trolls hadn't decided to up the stakes? Would Bungie's community managers and customer-facing staff have gone silent otherwise? Almost certainly not. Why? Because we, as a culture, have failed to employ meaningful and genuinely punishing consequences against people who choose to abuse the tools they have been given. Instead of wishy-washy temporary bans, Xbox could have made it so that somebody who's been positively identified as a bad actor simply wasn't allowed to play online any longer. Connect the MAC address of the console's Ethernet and wireless adapters to a banned account, verify the IP pool from the ISP in question, or even just confirm the IPv6 address, which is easier now than it was before, and cut them off. Troll wants to create a new login? Surprise! The combination of MAC and IP addresses prevent them from getting back online. Don't even allow somebody to re-up their Xbox subscription. Reject any card or electronic funds transfer associated with previously recorded information for that combination of username, IP pool or address, etc. Microsoft's so damn insistent on getting telemetry from everything, they may as well use it for something that's actually helpful. Granted, a truly dedicated troll will find ways around the problem. If they're blowing $500 every few months to get a clean console, that's quite a bit. But you know what? A troll that bankrupts themselves trying to be a troll gets pretty much what they deserve, which is why I don't believe this 8 strike system is going to have any sort of realistic impact on the problem. It doesn't hurt. Somebody's going to get banned, and they'll brag about it to their buddies because they know they'll be back eventually. In the twisted psychology of a troll, getting a slap on the wrist is tantamount to getting away with it. It may sound draconian, but if we can't punch a troll's lights out, we can at least hit them someplace sensitive. Their wallets. Microsoft, and indeed a lot of other tech companies, need to remember that they do not have to have everybody being their customer. that they can refuse service to individuals who demonstrate they are not worthy of the services in question. It requires a certain amount of restraint on the part of the tech company, to be sure, not to start seeing everybody as a troll, not to enforce quotas on how many trolls get banned. It needs to be, turning a phrase from Voltaire, a case of killing one troll to encourage the others to give it up. Some will argue that Bungie made an effort along those lines with their recent court verdict against a troll who harassed their employees. I'd be surprised if Bungie sees a dime of that judgment. There are simply too many ways to get around it. And the fact the troll in question so readily admitted he did it doesn't signify remorse, regret, or a desire to rehabilitate. It feeds the troll's ego. I did it. I'm proud I did it. And given the opportunity, I'll absolutely do it again. One would think that $500,000, give or take, would certainly put a crimp on trolling activities. One would be wrong. He's forbidden to contact Bungie. There's still EA, Activision, Blizzard, Ubisoft, and dozens of other targets out there. The only truly effective destruction of a troll is self-destruction, and even that's not a dead certainty. Get a troll to slowly dig himself into a pit, short on food, getting tossed out of their apartment, abandoned by their so-called friends because he keeps mooching off them, and there's a chance he might realize that he's destroyed his life for the lulz. And if not, no great loss, because it's not up to EA or Microsoft or Facebook or anybody else to save a troll from the consequences of their actions. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe. You can find other news articles along with guides, reviews, and features on our website, GameLuster.com. The opening music for the score was written and performed by Nirav Gandhi. I'm Axel Cushing, Editor-in-Chief at GameLuster, and this has been The Score. Thank you for listening.